Our next guest is Josef, and he'll tell us why Kamal is not harder than in PaaS. Please welcome Josef.
Welcome. I also prepare alternative title to this talk, just Kamal versus PaaS and how to make better steaks. This talk can save you up to $3 million a year. There is just one small caveat. You should be already spending 4 million a year right now, because if not, then the savings will be less. I would also like to fasten your seatbelts. This is because we will go 230 slides an hour. This might be related to my speed on the Autobahn coming to Wroclaw-Ruby, which is German highway, for those that don't know. So yes, hello, I am Josef. You might know me from writing the first ever book on Kamal, called Kamal Handbook. And you might have also noticed that I recently took job at SERP API. SERP API is a company that provides any kind of search API you can think of. So from Google, but also like Google Flights, AI overviews to Amazon products. And whatever search research page you are interested in, you can get as a JSON. So it's super easy to integrate in your application. We also have a free plan of 250 searches per month. So easy to try it. We are sponsor of this conference, which I'm very happy to say. And if I'm not at work, I'm actually a big Gordon Ramsay fan. People think sometimes that it's because I like to cook or I like elaborate dishes or I go like for Michelin star restaurants. This is not actually true. I just like him shouting at people because for some reason it brings a lot of calm to myself. This is really true. Welcome to Silesia. I'm actually from this region. It's a historical land. It was never like a kingdom, but I'm from the Czech part down below. I actually included Prussian map. Why? Because we were historically also Prussia. So where I'm from, like the few villages, we still call ourselves Prussians. And it's a bit funny because Prussia doesn't exist, but actually, yes, it exists. So people also think that I am Polish because of my name, Strzibny. And the name probably really comes from Poland, but I'm officially Czech and German, just so you know. And one short history lesson is Wroclaw Czech, because actually, apparently it was founded by Czech Duke. And if you see the coat of arms from the medieval times, it has the Czech lion on them. And even the new coat of lines still have the Czech lion there. So is Wroclaw Czech or Polish or Prussian? Yeah. So, but history lesson over. You can join the walk tomorrow, I believe. So let's talk Kamal versus PaaS. People go for PaaS because, why? Because they want that big, juicy button that they can press to deploy, right? And they think it's no work, it just works, it can never go wrong way. But is that the reality, you know? Because sometimes the provider might bail out on you or give you bad response times or give you some unavailability. So that all happens. And it's not for me to criticize these companies. I love that they exist, you know. And I mean, really, I'm not a Kamal fundamentalist, like some people also think. But the reality is really a little bit more complex. Yeah, it's not always you have no problems with them. So I find we can also try ourselves, same like with steaks. We worry to make steaks at home because we buy expensive meat and we don't want to ruin it, right? Uh, but so why steak at restaurant is better? You know, if you open a restaurant article like this, and you start reading, you read, and then you find out that actually they just put more butter, you know, and you can do that as well, you know. So sometimes it's good if they prepare the steak for you, but also you can make it at home and make it your way. And it's not really that hard, right? You follow few simple rules like room temperature, you season the steak, you preheat the pan, touch of the oil, 4 minutes each side, and basically you are kind of done. Don't forget to let it rest, and that's it. So I like both, right? It's not one or the other. And that said, we also don't have to follow every single advice and every single recommendation, even when we are deploying with Kamal. So how to kind of, you only live once, your first Kamal deploy, right? And I know what you are thinking, Claude. Um, Today, everybody and their mom uses Cloud Code, of course, but it's important to realize that still, maybe for some things like security, we should be a little bit more careful. We should still take it more seriously because remember, you are not Chuck Norris. Yeah. And speaking of Chuck Norris, not everybody knows this, but Chuck Norris deployed with Kamal before DHH. Yeah. And and his servers also never had downtime. This was because uptime monitors always waited for him to be back online. Yeah. So he was safe, but we are not Chuck Norris. So Kamal one-on-one, just to understand Kamal a little bit, right? So Kamal splits your applications kind of in half. You have the application itself and the accessories, which could be whether headless browser or some database or some project that makes backups for the database. And the server part have like kind of its life cycle. So that's the Kamal deploy, that's whatever happens there with the blue-green deploys and so on. But accessories have their own life cycle, so you just start them and they just run. So the next thing to realize is that there is a thing called Kamal proxy. It's like a separate project, but Kamal deploys it. And Kamal proxy will know how to route requests on your servers. So especially if you are building this like one server PaaS for yourself, you can have many projects there, and Kamal proxy will know which one to go. So it will register. It will also like health check those containers and then send the right traffic. The next way is the blue-green deployment, which Kamal uses, which is really nice because it gives us gapless deploys. But one thing to be said about this is that you need way more RAM than you probably expect, especially if you are using Rails with solid three-factor libraries. Better go for more RAM than less because you will be running things in parallel at some moment in time. So this is actually a good thing for having one big VM when you want to run many projects, because then you share the RAM and it's not such a big problem to overpay for that. And one more thing I want to mention regarding the Kamal theory, let's say, is the differences between the directories and volumes, because you need some space for some data. And it's a bit hard to understand like what Kamal calls directory, what volume. Directory is like actually directory, but there is volume, which can be kind of both. So for this talk, I will use Kamal volumes, which are Docker named volumes. Yeah, they're handled by Docker. The alternative to that is to just creating your regular directories on the Linux system. In both cases, you kind of have to think about permissions and access. And one disappointing thing I will say about Docker is that you would think that this usage of native volumes will give you some advantage when backing up something or whatever, but actually no. It's even harder because you have to spin up container to run some backup software just for that. So it's a bit stupid, but you can still use it. It's created automatically, so that's the advantage here. So you don't have to really do mk there to create a directory. It will just create it whenever you mount for the first time. Yeah. So for the example, I want to talk about just the plain simple thing, Rails new. Just to make it a little bit more interesting, we will add Lightstream, which is a technology that can help us to back up our SQLite databases. I cannot go too deep here in this talk for live stream, but it basically takes your write-ahead of files for SQLite and it combines them with snapshots. So it will make a snapshot and you have the whole files and together it's like a generation. It will stream it somewhere like to S3 bucket and then later you can restore it. Oh, sorry. So I made a demo that you can later open and run and deploy if you will be interested in running it. It's a small application that actually uses SERP API for checking your keywords. So sometimes if you are building a product or a company on Google and you want to track how you are doing in SERP or your competitors. So it's a small app that does exactly that. So let's talk about requirements. What Kamal really needs from you, or let's say from your application. You obviously need SSH keys. Most of you probably already have some. This is how you generate them. There will be pair of private and public. So obviously the private one you have to keep private. Simple as that. Then you need Docker installed on your machine. Kamal uses Docker also on the servers. So all the way Docker, it's unavoidable. Then you need to write a Docker file that will run your application on port 80, have a health check, that's important, and just simply logs to std out. I don't want to go again too much to Docker file because Rails luckily ships one, and it's a good one. Recently, there were actually some optimizations. So if you have some old version, just go and get the new one from Rails. You will have faster builds. So only a few things maybe to note. So there is expose 80, that's the port, and then you have the command for the server. We are using WinTrust, that's Truster. That's also a separate project that helps with caching assets. Unfortunately, that's one of the disadvantages of Kamal, that it doesn't have native way for it for now. And then you have the entry point. So I'm always clicking the small one. So the entry point is for the DB migration, or if the DB is not there, that will be created. And few things, we can run assume SSL and force SSL for having automatic redirects and running with SSL. Later, I will show you the configuration on Kamal side. It's very simple. This is already, I think, in the Rails new project there. You just uncomment both. Or it will also work if you keep it uncommented, but then you will not have the functionality, obviously. And similarly, if you are using those SSL options or host authorization options, you have to exclude your app health check endpoint, because otherwise it will not work either. So let's create such a server for Kamal that we can use for many projects, like a PaaS in a way, not Dynos server. So I chose DigitalOcean here because I use them a lot, but you can use, of course, something else. The nice thing about them is the DO agent that you can install on the system, which I will get to in a second. So you just create a droplet, choose something big enough, your region, obviously. For the demo, I'm on Ubuntu, but of course you can rewrite for your favorite system. And after the sizing, there is this important thing that you can provide your cloud init script, and that will bootstrap the system with some stuff you want. So this is how you can make your system more secure or whatever you want. And it's simple way how to avoid something like Ansible and writing many configuration stuff that are actually harder if you have something simple like what we are doing today, right? So for Cloud Init essentials that you might want to do is to install some packages, but before that you should upgrade the system. So here's the upgrade command. Once it's updated, we can install various things. We can already install Docker here if we want. Kamal can also install Docker, so you don't necessarily have to do it. Just don't install it from Snap, because then you will have a bad time. You can install some utilities like curl. And then I usually install packages like unattended upgrades and fail to ban that are very, very useful. So for unattended upgrades, you can also like configure them, right? And then they can just run. Of course, depending on the configuration, when you are updating something that's already in memory, you need the restart. Otherwise, you don't have the latest changes. For fail to ban, this is so beautiful because you really just start it and it already works. It will already protect your access to SSH ports. There is configuration. You can configure it the way you like, but already the basics will simply work, which I found really nice. And then we can also do something with the firewall. So now this is the firewall on the system, on that VM, right? Not the cloud firewall. So by default, you should probably like forbid everything that you don't want, which is like anything, and then you selectively allow what you want. So ports 80, 443, that's for HTTP and HTTPS, of course. Port 22 is the SSH. If you set it up differently, you can have some different defaults here. And then you have this private address namespace. I will get to it in a second in the cloud firewall. But the idea here is that we are still using the firewall also in the VM, and then also we use it in the cloud. And then there are some extras that, you know, depending on you might use or not. Depends what you like. One nice thing about them is that sometimes, even though you don't do them, they do themselves. So, for example, a lot of people switch to Cronny for time syncing on the server, which is a good thing. But for example, here you can see Ubuntu 25 already done it for you, and it's default, and you didn't have to do anything, right? So sometimes also good to review whatever it's in your script. Maybe it's not necessary anymore, and you can just simplify. Then swap space, I like to add it. Is the space is like just allocated disk space for the situation when your Linux system will run out of RAM. So they will move some things to swap. It has advantage. It has also disadvantage. So the advantage is that sometimes you will survive with some extra load or something because it will be saved. But also the disadvantage is that you will not immediately see something crashing, which can be also useful. Then it's a bit longer, but it's for using non-root user. So I personally do that. Some people think that they already do other things, so they don't need it. So I put it to extras. The idea about this is that the cloud provider will already provide the SSH public key, right? And everything will be ready for you. So we are creating a new user and actually moving that file, that SSH key, to the location for the user. And we also make sure that the user can use sudo for everything that the root would have to do. And we are adding it to the Docker group so that also all the Docker commands works automatically as you would expect. Finally, you can also disable root access if you don't use root. So you should disable the password authentication for sure, and then also remove the permit root login in case you are using a different user. And finally, yeah, a lot of people use TileScale, which is an amazing service and it's free to start. TileScale is a peer-to-peer mesh VPN. And basically, it will create secure connection like from your laptop to your server or between your servers. So then you can also start kind of disabling the SSH as well, because you will simply use TileScale. If you want to add it, it's kind of simple in the simplest case we have today. So you just install it in the TileScale app with some host name. Then you can also, then you would use host name from here in your Kamal configuration, right? But if you want, just start with exposed SSH. It's not the worst thing ever, you know. I have some old servers. I still run it like that, and mostly this is fine, you know. But that said, please do not hack me, okay? So then we can finish the initialization here. So we have to give some name. Do not use your domain name here, because that will be also used like in etc host file, and you will have bad time, so don't use it. And coming to that cloud firewalls I was talking about, so this is kind of like an image how the application would look like. So what we need to allow HTTP and HTTPS from the outside, because that would be our users. Then for the SSH, we will use port 22. And if we are using TileScale, we can change it to the UDP port from TileScale. And for the services that happens all inside our VPC, then we can use this shortcut, let's say, for 10.0.0.0.16, which is the address space for the private network. You can be more specific, of course, or maybe if you are in AWS or somewhere, you will be creating security groups and whatnot. But this is like the simple thing, how you can start, how you can do something. And as I said, it's important to do security in depth. So even though all these things kind of overlap, and you know, you think, okay, I already use TileScale, so I don't have to use anything else. I like to do more if I can, because things in security should also always overlap and be in more layers, let's say. So let's go quickly through the Kamal configuration. Again, it's already there, similarly with Rails, just Kamal in it, and you have it there. We name the service, we use the image name. We will use the local Docker registry that Kamal now can run, which is really nice. We don't have to care too much. We put the IP address, you know, and for jobs, if we have, it's the same server, so we can do the same. One thing we can do here, though, we can add options and limit, for example, how much CPU and memory should be used. This is super useful when we will run many applications in one server, because we don't want one to influence the others too much and overtake them. Then the proxy stuff, so that's the AutoSSL from Kamal. We just put the host name that we prepared. We, of course, need the DNS entry as well. And the registry, that already was generated, because this is the new default. It will just actually spin up a local registry, so you don't have to pay for Docker Hub anymore. Very easy. Then the secrets are actually split between two, so you have clear environment, kind of, and then you have the actual secrets. So namely like Rails master key, or for example, for this application, it would be SERP API key. And we have to list them here, and then we have to also list them in .kamal/secrets. And Kamal also gives us aliases, which is a nice way how to run Kamal something that we want, that we like. It could be something custom. So the first ones are from Rails. So you already can run Kamal console, Kamal logs. That's very nice. I usually add these two. So I would add like Kamal apps that can ask Kamal proxy, okay, what are all the applications on my server managed by that proxy? And I also add Kamal envs, which will run the env program and gives me the envs, because otherwise they are just saved like on some file. So I found that useful. Then there's this volume, so that would be the named Docker volume, as I said. Asset path. If you specify, then Kamal can actually bridge assets. So when you have the gapless deploy, they both live briefly together, so both old and new application can reference them. And then the architecture of the builder just depends on your system. There are two options, simple like that. And if we are using the different user, then we would put it here. So for example, I call this PaaS admin. Just call it something special, because I see people like using different name than root, but then they use deployer all the time or something like that, right? And for Lightstream, that's the bonus here, that would be the accessory. So it will have its own lifecycle. Again, we just specify the host, the image, and we will have a configuration file. So we let Kamal also to use it. And the default command here will be the replicate. So it will take the configuration and run replicate with it. And I added the options user 1000. This is because also if you were paying attention in the Docker file from Rails, there's also Rails user with like 1000. 1000 in Linux is the first unprivileged user. So it's always 1000. And this way they can share the permissions in that volume. So I found it easier in a way to do like that. Then the actual config for the Lightstream is basically just access to your S3-like bucket. So you can use S3, you can use some other provider, and yeah, just be precise in your endpoint and the secrets. Nothing too difficult there. So for the object storage here, I have R2. That's what I'm using lately, but you can of course use anything else. There's this access details down below. And yeah, for the secrets, we will just compile them all in .env if we want. That's what I do when I have something very simple. I don't want to use secret managers, which you can, but you just use .env, and then in the .caml secrets, you will just name them. It's a bit like, yeah, you have to put the secret on 3 different places this way, but at the same time, it's also clear which secrets are actually used or not. And then you run Kamal setup, and Kamal does everything. It will prepare the server, spin up accessories, and then run your app, and that's really it. But if something went wrong, then maybe first of all, what could go wrong? Obviously, the cloud init script. So you can go and see the output, and you will see there was something wrong. And then, of course, locally you can also run other audits, like Kamal audit. That's for Kamal stuff specifically. And then you have this fail to ban log, for example, for whoever tried to get to your server, with the outlook, and others. For the monitoring to continue, of course, you want. Again, there are many services and so on. PaaS have the advantage that usually it's given to you, and that's why I like to use DigitalOcean, for example, because DigitalOcean with the DO agent already gives you that kind of as well for the VM. So you have all the data like CPU, memory, network, and you can even make alerts. So it can send you email or even Slack notification when, for example, you are on your limit, let's say 70% of CPU or something. So that's very nice. And then with the new versions of the app, you add some commit, you just run Kamal deploy, and done. Of course, sometimes you might need restores. So in case of Lightstream, what could we do with Kamal, how it would look like? So we could, of course, list the snapshots, right? Like whatever we have available. We can switch app to maintenance. That's one of the newer feature of Kamal. Then we can stop light stream. We could pretend like the files are gone. Yeah. We stop the app, and then we simply restore to that location from Lightstream. Lightstream will not restore if the files are there. That's why this rm command just before it. And then we start Lightstream, it will continue, and we can boot the application again and set Kamal app live, and it will route the request again. If we have a new server, well, in that case, there are probably few things you can do. But in this demo, I was not bundling Lightstream together with Rails in the Docker file. So do it like kind of outside of it. I would have to break from the usual commands, and first I would actually bootstrap the server myself, boot the accessory myself, then fix the permission because I changed the way it's done, and now I still need that user 1000 there. Restore, and then I can run Kamal setup just fine. If we have a new app completely, then well, all the server stuff is already there. It's already done. We will reuse them. So we will just like use new Kamal in it. You know, use the same same SSH user, same IP address. We just like rename the application. So that means renaming the service. Pretty much we can be running as many applications as we want. So really rinse and repeat. Just a short table, yeah. So the configuration, Kamal is a custom file, but actually many PaaS companies also have custom files, right? They are not always clicky, so it really depends. It's hard to compare it in some depth. For monitoring, as I said, geometrics, if it's not enough, you have to go to some third party. Similarly with logs, I think with the agents today, giving them just some raw output from Kamal logs could work. If not, just get some service. And for backups, we can use many. So for example, we can be doing snapshots of the whole VM, right? We just click it, and they will every day give us this easy backup of everything, which is kind of nice because maybe that's the easiest way how to recover. So is Kamal for everything? Not really. I would say Kamal is for when you are developing the application and you want to also deploy it. For that is very good, but it's not PaaS in the sense of running third-party applications that were already developed. That's what once will apparently be now. We don't know that much yet, but once, unlike Coolify, which is another option, have also some kind of, let's say, requirements for the application. So it's not easy to run anything you want with once now, but we'll see for the future. And yeah, if Kamal is for everything, maybe like olive oil for everything, you know, in the kitchen. I'm kind of cook like this, like I just use olive oil and I don't care. But the topic of the talk is, of course, are steaks. So olive oil for steaks, right? That's the question. How many of you use olive oil for steaks? Okay, it's like half, maybe less than half. So we can actually ask AI overview in Google. So in Serve API, we can also do it interactively like this and then get the JSON. Of course, it's too small for you to see, but the point from the answer is about high smoke point. And it's true that olive oil is not technically the best when it comes to high smoke point. And you should use avocado oil. But, and this is important, what does Gordon say, right? What does Gordon Ramsay thinks about this? And because I watch him a lot, I've seen so many videos, and every video it's the same olive oil in. So if olive oil is good enough for Gordon, it's good enough for me. But choose whichever you like. Kamal or PaaS, Kamal is good enough for me, but there are many ways to roam. And remember, you are not Chuck Norris. Yeah. So thank you.
Any questions? Oh, sorry.
Hi, very good presentation, thank you. I have a question, Kamal, with Postgres. So I think you selected SQLite because it's the easiest one. But with Postgres, if we can dream of the automatic backups, the restoration of the database, maybe even replicas, something like that, the configuration within a Kamal, how doable is it? And maybe second question, Kamal with logs, like we know the once initiative of the HH and the guys, we have already a solution for purchasing once for application-raised applications for bugs. It's called telebugs, which is very good. Do you recommend something for logs that we don't need to send them to the third parties? We can store them. And maybe for monitoring, like you mentioned, the host machine, and the CPU, memory, and all of that stuff. Is there any recommendation you have for today?
So let me start with the second one that I have in my head. You can use self-hosted Grafana and Prometheus. That's what 37 Signals uses. So
I prefer my PaaS. No, sorry, I'm joking.
Yeah. That's obviously an option, but then you cannot like simplify to something what I was talking about, right? Then you are already doing DevOps for sure, and it's probably not part of Kamal because they are using different tools to deploy it. But I actually made a course about Kamal where I am showing how to deploy this stack with
From you, and it's difficult. I mean, this is the DevOps job.
Yeah. It's not easy in a way that Kamal will not really help you. But as an accessory, you can run anything. It's just Kamal doesn't know this is database, this is logs. It doesn't really know anything like that. I was thinking a few times to build something on top of Kamal. I didn't get around to it. But maybe it would be worth to have something that could kind of unify this. So I would recommend if the Kamal logs is not enough, actually the easiest is to get some service. We were just discussing before this talk with some people about maybe BetterStack or companies like that. And for Postgres, I actually use Postgres almost exclusively. I chose SQLite actually because it's like kind of on trend and there's more projects happening on that. And I think a lot of people will want to simplify. And if they don't need the big database, they will use SQLite. It's also convenient for this talk because, of course, in some PaaS you have this ephemeral storage, and SQLite is actually even worse. Like it's maybe difficult. You don't know how to use it. Whereas here it actually makes sense because you have all the space you want, and it's super simple. So for Postgres, you can run similar like Lightstream, like some project like PG. I don't know how it exactly is called the container, but there are projects that will run as Docker, connect to your DB, and just make you a backup. That's what I do. But I would say it's like kind of this small scale when you still don't have like replicas and stuff. But the answer is the same. Like Kamal can do it because Kamal will simply just treat it as something it doesn't even know about. But the hard part is that you need to know very well how to do this Postgres with replicas like in your current environment and then just translate it to Kamal. Unfortunately, Kamal will not help you there, but it's possible. Everything's possible.
I think I saw this on your slides. If you just have like pet projects, they're not production. You have one user and it's you.
Yeah.
Would you deploy like all of them to the same DigitalOcean droplet? Like, is that? I thought I might have seen that in the slides, and I wasn't sure. Do you have to do like a different deploy and a different droplet for like each?
No, the
Rails
point
instance.
is actually that if you have small projects like that, you would put them on one VM. So whatever we done today, you just do once, and it's done. You know.
And then I just run the server on different ports. Then you're saying Kamal like maps the domain name to.
Yeah, Kamal proxy will route to the right stuff. So there's really no problem. Like every project needs to have its Kamal configuration, but that Kamal configuration will still point to the same IP address to the same server.
Nice, thank you.
Yeah.
Just following up on that, if you could speak a little to the capabilities of Kamal proxy, or if you have insight into the direction. We often have the requirement of kind of the opposite of, being able to do multi-region deployments. And so, Kamal proxy was floated as a potential like load balancing solution that could handle that. Where does it stand today?
Yeah, I wish they shared more with me, but they don't. Donald told me that something is coming, but he didn't explain what is that something. So maybe at Rails World they will have something new. Definitely there is some new stuff for Kamal that is planned. That's what I know. Yeah. So hopefully some capabilities in that direction will be there, but I don't know.
Thank you.
Hi, I have a pair of doubts. First, if I have Kamal configured now, and I want to create like a development machine with another IP, there is a way to tell to Kamal only deploy to this IP. Do I have to tag? There is a possibility to tag the IPs of your server or something like this?
So in Kamal you have deploy targets. So it will be like kind of copy of the configuration, but it can be only the changes that will be overriding, so you can have staging, you can have development, you can have for PRs. And then if you, I think it's like -D as a destination for give it the name, then it will use and apply that config as well.
Okay. Another thing that I tried, but I saw like it was a lot of monkey patching, was in an instance that I have Kamal and a Rails app running, try to run another service and then like modify the Kamal proxy so he can listen in a port and redirect to another. But have you tried something like that?
I'm not sure I follow.
Like try to deploy a non-Rails application in a VPS that I already have a Rails application with Kamal.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be Rails. Like it's the same. I don't know if the question is more about the Kamal proxy capability. Sometimes Kamal proxy already knows or can do something that is not exposed to Kamal or for the interface. So sometimes when you are at that situation, you can also look in Kamal proxy. And similarly, how I was using the commands for a list of the projects, you can run something else to tell proxy directly what you want this way.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. How do you deliver Docker images to the server?
You mean in this case when you have
With
local?
Kamal. If I configure my server with Kamal, what is the mechanism? Do I set up an image registry?
Yeah. So originally you would have to set up Docker image registry, something like Docker Hub. I still use that mostly for the most part. So you would first get the image built and shipped to the registry, and then the servers are instructed to get the app, but obviously they get the image from the registry.
What registry Kamal uses?
It's actually like image like Docker/registry or something like that. I would have to look, but it's like just like Docker registry image basically.
And how?
We can find it. And if it's local, then it will just download this image locally. And then because the server still uses the same way, so there will be a tunnel that will be created, and it will grab it from your computer instead of.
And
the
how do
remote
you
server.
authenticate CI in this registry? Do you set up a
Yeah, so
password
because
or-
we were doing it locally, we didn't need to do that because it was just
But for
SSH.
pushing, for example, I build an image on CI and want to push it to the server. I need to push it to the server. How?
Well, if you use external registry like Docker Hub, yes, there is like Kamal will need a password to that registry to authenticate you, and then it's pushed there, but the servers will take it directly. It's like it's not going from your laptop. But if it's local, like here, then actually it will be like the servers will grab it from your. Yeah, it's called like Kamal registry password. You would usually see in the config. That's for like the external registry. But I could omit it here because I didn't use it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Josef.
Thank you.